In this simulation video, we'll be going through the process for adding joist hangers to create a flush beam deck build. This will include the short instructions for the single joist hanger and an overview of what's different from a use and application standpoint for the double joist hanger. Before we get started, here's a list of the recommended tools and safety equipment you'll want to have on hand when working with our Evolution steel framing product. Know that all posts must be temporarily braced until fully stabilized and permanently connected with framing or other structural members. For deck frames, this means that all beams, joists, hangers, and any blocking that shores up the structure should be in place before the bracing can be removed. In short, the deck frame should be fully assembled and secured first before bracing is removed from the assembly. We'll begin with the single joist hanger. The single joist hanger will be added to a flush beam build, starting from the point that the post, beam, and ledger have already been installed. Although it may seem straightforward to drop a hanger and then hook a joist onto the ledger bracket, there are a few more items to take into consideration before we can make the attachment. The first is ensuring the edge of the beam and S-ledger are in line. This step should have been performed during beam mounting. However, it is a necessity to verify this now or make any adjustments to beam positioning. The second item is determining on-center spacing. This is for where the hangers will need to sit. If using one of the Evolution pre-cut S-ledgers with on-center spacing, then you'll have the spacing between the joists. The third item is determining how far in from the edge of the ledger the on-center spacing will begin from. How you get this measurement is largely dependent upon the build. However, the simplest method to obtain this for most builds is by measuring from the outer edge of the S-ledger to the middle of the first ledger bracket, where the on-center spacing will begin. As long as the beam and ledger are in line, this first on-center joist measurement can be transferred to the beam to provide the center of where the first on-center joist will need to be mounted in place. Note that from this point, you can measure and mark the beam using the on-center spacing measurement to determine where the remaining on-center spaced joists will need to land as well. Use the first measurement as a guide to center and place the first single joist hanger onto the beam. Next, bring over a joist that's been cut to be the same length as the measurement between the face of the ledger and inside of the beam. Then, with some assistance, start one end onto the ledger bracket and set the other end on the beam in line with the center of the single joist hanger. To push the joist into position, you'll need to use a mallet and woodblock. Tap the end of the joist using the mallet and woodblock until it slips into position and rests on the joist hanger. Ensure that your joist and joist bracket are still aligned and square. Then secure the single joist bracket to the beam and joist, filling all the holes in the hanger bracket with Evolution self-tapping screws. On the ledger side, use an Evolution self-tapping screw on each side of the joist to secure it to the ledger bracket. Once the first joist tied to this strip of S-ledger has been attached, we can use the 12-inch on-center spacing to attach our remaining hanger brackets and joists until we reach the end of this S-ledger. Let's now shift over to take a look at the most common use case for the double joist hanger bracket. The most common application for the double joist bracket is to be used to assist with blocking. So, while the bracket itself is installed in the same manner as the single joist hanger, there are a few things to note about the installation setup. The first is the function of the bracket. As mentioned, the bracket is typically used to support two joists as blocking, for instance, where deck boards will meet. This setup works in conjunction with an on-center spaced joist installation. However, unlike the single joist setup, it is not attached at the ledger with ledger brackets. The joists used with the double hanger bracket will have a different connection over on the ledger side of the installation. Instead of being slipped onto ledger brackets, the double joists will be connected to the ledger with an F50 bracket on each joist. Once the joists have been secured to the ledger and beam, they'll be ready to receive decking. This allows each joist in the pair to act as blocking for each set of decking boards, as shown in this example. So, by using the double joist hanger, we're able to quickly add joists as blocking for our first and second run of decking boards. The last point is that the double joist hanger has arms that are longer than those of a single joist hanger. The double joist hanger is designed for blocking situations where double joists may need to run in either direction, meaning the arms of the double joist could also be resting on a double joist or double beam. So if used to hang from a single beam, as shown here, the arms will need to be trimmed to that width. Know that if the product needs to be cut, that afterwards, The edges will need to be deburred or smooth, and the exposed metal area will need to be coated with 3 coats of Evolution touch-up paint. One thing that needs to be made clear about the double joist hanger setup is that this does not provide reinforcement in a manner where this can be used as a carry beam. Do not attempt to use this hanger and joist in the place of a supported beam. It should be utilized the same as any other joist setup, in accordance with specifications that meet span and load requirements only. For more information on our steel deck framing products, including where to buy, stop by our website at fortressbp.com/framing. And don't forget to check out our other Evolution steel framing videos as we continue to help our customers steal the show.